with
That
privacy.
doesn't stand on all fours because the book does, well, in this case, it's his own image that's on the video feed. Is that correct?
That is correct, but of course there are other people who are featured on that video as well. And I don't think Golden argued, I don't think the district court held, that simply appearing on a video gives someone a reasonable expectation of privacy in it. Instead, what the district court said was that simply because Golden had commissioned the video, that he had a reasonable expectation of privacy in it, that basically meant that there was a societal expectation that he would get to control it and that he would have a privacy interest in it. And I don't think that can be squared with this court's precedents. So I point to a few places. I point first to the Hunt decision, and this was a slightly older case, but it involved someone, and two brothers actually, who hired private investigators to tape record people they suspected of mishandling company funds. And they asserted an interest in those tapes that these private investigators, in the course of their principal agency relationship, recorded. And the court rejected that as a basis for Fourth Amendment standing. It said just because there was this principal agent relationship, just because those tapes were made at the instance of these two brothers, that didn't give them a Fourth Amendment interest. And I think that also lines up with the Supreme Court's third-party cases. Both Miller and Smith, yes, Your Honor?
I'm listening.
Both Miller and Smith involved records that were created in the course of a business relationship. Those records involved material that was fairly personal, and you could potentially glean a lot about an individual's life from. So Miller involved bank records, and from those you could, piece together what someone spent money on. Smith involved phone records that you could potentially piece together, someone's network of friends and family. And so those cases also involved documents that were created in the course of this sort of business relationship. And the Supreme Court held that that generally doesn't support Fourth Amendment standing.
Quick question. Excuse me. You argue that Mr. Golden lacks Fourth Amendment standing to seek suppression at all. And for that, you rely on this three-factor test in this court for standing. In the district court, you seem to rely on a different sort of analytical framework for standing. And you draw this new three-factor test from a couple of cases. But again, the government used kind of a different theory of standing in the district court, and which just leads me to ask if you have in any way forfeited reliance on the three-factor test by not asserting it below.
So I don't think so. And first, just to clarify, we don't assert that this is, a three-pronged test that you have to check X, Y, Z boxes. These are the factors that this court has said are important and are particularly important in cases involving personal privacy. And I will certainly give you that the way we couched this argument below was more in terms of the commercial character of this footage. But I think that's just a different way of looking at really the same issues. And we did argue below that Golden had failed to meet his burden of proof to prove Fourth Amendment standing, including because he had voluntarily opened his life up to filming for these promotional purposes. And that we first